One out of 5 people died due to heart disease in India.
Every 33 seconds, someone dies due to a heart attack.
1 out of 5 people die before the age of 40 due to heart attacks.
By 2030, heart attacks will be the most common cause of deaths worldwide.
Why is that? Let's uncover the truth with Dr. Sanjay Purwal. Hi everyone, welcome to Made and Making. So before we start, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Kisna Gold and Diamond Jewelry. Kisna is India's one of the most trusted jewelry brand. So if you want something which is everlasting and beautiful, please do check out Kisna Gold and Diamond Jewelry.
Today's guest is someone who quite literally listens to people's heart for a living, and today we get to listen to his. He is one of India's only 7,000 cardiologists, and his journey as a doctor has taken him across continents and careers. Someone who's dedicated his life to saving others. Please welcome Dr. Sanjay Purwal.
Yeah, hello guys.
Hi Dr. Purwal, how are you?
I'm fine.
To kick things off, tell us how was life like growing up?
Growing up means I'm a local lad. I'm from Belgaum itself. I did my schooling from Belgaum itself from an MV Maratha Mahila Vidyalaya English medium school, one which is behind Sanman Hotel. We are not like from any convent school which is typical St. Paul's or St. Joseph's school, where whenever during our schooling days, whenever we went to any competitions across, of course we won those competitions, may it be debate or quiz competitions, but when we entered those competitions, those guys, I mean people who are convent educated, like people from St. Paul, St. Joseph, they thought these guys, these are so-called from these not too well-known schools, and they are competing with us, and when we beat them and win those prizes, they were surprised. These people can also do this big, and that is what it was. And growing up from there, again I've been studied here at GSS College for my science 11th and 12th, and thereafter very interesting things. I mean, in 12th standard, our teachers thought that this boy is all the time moving around, playing, being mischievous, making fun. I wonder how he's going to do it. What about his career in future? And when I got around 250th rank in the state, they were surprised. In fact, I topped North Karnataka, and they said, "How was this possible?" And that was how it is. And then the journey began into the field of medicine, which I was ever fascinated. We will speak about it as we move further on that. This is how growing up in Belgaum, and Belgaum has changed a lot. The city has given me all the goodies, all the good things. What I am today is because of this city.
So growing up, was there any event when you realized the importance of health?
Yes. Health is well, I mean, I used to see people falling suddenly and nobody to help. I used to see my own loved ones at home suddenly having falling ill, having suddenly becoming unconscious, and we frantically making call to our doctor. He coming with a bag with a nice personality, saving him, and he again sitting up very nicely and kicking up all again. So this was the fascination of this field called medicine and being a doctor. And that is what fascinated me into what I am today, and my seeds of becoming a doctor were sown then when I was a small kid.
So the idea of becoming a doctor came to your mind when you were a child?
When I saw my doctor walking in with a lovely personality, there was a doctor called Ajit Kulkarni. Very nice personality, tall, handsome, salt pepper like hair, walking with a bag and making sleeping person give some injections, making them comfortable and all upright again. So that was the fascination of this profession and the aura what it brings along with what it is.
Okay.
Who else has influenced your life? Like, who was your role model that you saw them and decided that I want to take the path of cardiology?
As I said, I named a doctor called Ajit Kulkarni. I mean, he is a very senior general physician practicing in Belgaum. He is my, I looked at him as my idol He was our family doctor. He is still our family doctor. My family members still go to him for advice. But I looked at him and I said, "Ki, this is the way I should be." So he was my role model. I looked upon to being one of him. And as I went into medicine, then I grew up into what a passion called cardiology is, because it's all about saving lives. People dying of heart attacks, you being a messenger of God, trying to use your skills which you have learned over time and making them all right all over again. Yes, this is how the journey began into cardiology, because it is a life-saving profession.
So the early years of medicine can be very tough. How did you ever think that you are on the wrong path? Did you choose the wrong path?
Yes, I never thought the journey would be that long. See, medicine is a long course. Once you finish your 12th standard, the competition is huge. You must have read recently 15 plus lakh students giving NEET exam, and less than 10% or less than 5% coming into becoming a doctors, MBBS doctors. Of them going into specialty, which is this is 5.5 years course of MBBS. After that, you prepare for your entrance again, and then you appear for what it's called as pre-PG, postgraduate students. There is, after MBBS you become a postgraduate. That is, either you become an MD or an MS, whatever, whichever branch you chosen. Thereafter, this is specialty. Now, supposing you become MD in medicine, and there one branch of medicine would be like, one is cardiology, one is neurology, one is kidney. Each organ is a specialty in itself. So after doing 3 years of medicine, after 5.5 years of MBBS, studying for an entrance which takes around a year, then another 3 years of postgraduate students to finish your MD or an MS, then another entrance exam to go in for a super specialty, like I said, specific organ specific specialty. There you have to prepare again. The competition is fierce. Not everybody can achieve that kind of. Then you have to have another 3 years of that. Then you're training, and then you come into practice. So it's a very, very long course. Patience is the only way. The journey is difficult. The destination is beautiful, gratifying. During the journey, there are lots of ups and downs. Sometimes you give up. Sometimes you feel, where did I go? Most important, the people who choose engineering college or other professions than medicines, who are there with you in 11th and 12th, or your school friends. They finish their engineering, they go to America, they earn in dollars already when you are still studying. When you are asking your parents, give me some pocket money to use for the day-to-day activities of life. That is pretty disheartening. And that is the time when you think, what are you doing? So it's just patience. It's just patience. The moment you reach your destination, sky is the limit. That's how it is.
Did you ever feel like giving up?
During the journey, yes. It's a very tough, very demanding profession. You read a lot, you have to experiment a lot, you have to practice a lot. You have to achieve some kind of perfection. Life does not give a second chance. Medicine is this branch where you don't have a second chance if you err. There is no scope for being wrong in medicine. You play with lives. You deal with lives. You cannot experiment. You have to deliver 100% every time to the best of your knowledge to win. You have to play to win every match. This is how it is. In any other profession, your machine goes wrong, you can dismantle, make a new machine. Any other branch, there is always a scope for it. When dealing with human lives, there is no second chance. You have to be a perfectionist. You have to have that skill. You have to have an empathy to understand the patient, to understand the person's suffering. Once you understand the suffering, what this person, the person who is suffering a disease or something, then you understand, then you try to alleviate it, and then you use your knowledge in treating the same and making him smile all over again. So this is the journey. Here there is no second chance. You have to be perfect and you have to be correct all the time.
So, what kept you going through the during the hard days? So, what kept you going through the during the hard days? What motivated you?
The very thought that I could be one who could be saving lives. That is the only message and that is the only purpose of this profession. Do good to others.
Do you remember when you operated on your first patient? Then how was it?
Oh, it was the first patient coming with heart attack with hardly any blood pressure. The moment I see him, he's having a massive attack. These are the days when I was practicing in Jaslok Hospital, Mumbai, when I did my first angioplasty there. Patient having a heart attack coming into emergency room. So we somehow stabilized him, did his angiogram. There was a 100% block in it. I opened that artery and the heart attack was virtually aborted. So this person, in the next few hours, he was all right. Now, incidentally, this person was a part of a traveling group which came to India. Some Gujarati guy came as a part of a travel group coming to India. He had a heart attack. He was treated by me. We did an angioplasty. The rest of the group went to Singapore, which was their next leg of the tour. This chap joined them in Singapore after the heart attack and after the angioplasty, and he calls me up from Malaysia saying that, doctor, I have come to Malaysia with my group now. I'm all right. Thank you very much. So he has had a heart attack. He's gone to Singapore again to catch up with the rest of the colleagues who have finished their Singapore trip and now going to Malaysia. And he calls me up saying that I'm all right. Now I'm with the group again. This is the beauty of this profession, and that is pretty gratifying. No other profession is as gratifying as this.
You must have felt so good when you said that.
Absolutely. It is not the money which is involved in it. It is the happiness what you gain in being a part of a journey wherein you are a life savior. I'm not saying doctors are God, but they are second to none. Unfortunately, there are a mixed bag. The aim is to do good to everybody, to apply the knowledge what you have learned in the right way. That's how it is. You gain knowledge, you apply it in the right way for doing good, for elevating human suffering, and seeing that smile all over again.
Now, these days when you operate on your patients, and how do you keep yourself calm when you are thinking that their life is literally in my hands?
Yes. I too have a God. The moment I start, I just close my eyes, request God, the Almighty, that I do no wrong, help me save this person. And the rest, He takes care. I do my work, I treat, He cures. I use my knowledge, He responds. I am a human being too. I rely on the Supreme Power to give me strength to do what I have learned in the best of my knowledge.
So, how do you handle yourself when, despite trying your best, you couldn't save the patient?
The word I am sorry to the patient's relative is the most disheartening to any doctor. That doctor who has to go and console the family members saying that I couldn't save your person is the hardest thing in his life, to go and share this news to the patients or the person's loved ones. It is the most difficult thing to handle that. Yes, you try to be one amongst them. You have nothing but to console, and yes, you skip a meal that day too. You also skip a meal that day. So it is not that it is a routine part and you break this news, you go back to a movie. It's not that kind of thing. We are also human beings. Doctors are also human beings. They also have emotions. They also have a thought process. They also have a heart which beats and a mind which thinks. So it's not easy for them as well. So they too skip a meal that day when they have to do this. Be any doctor, because we are humans too. We have.
So, is there any patient story which taught you more than medicine, which was beyond medicine?
There is a, I mean, there are many incidences which we come across. I said, and then there are these people, some of my business friends, which keep on enjoying all day long, which keep on partying. We cannot do that. We go to, they invite us, we cannot honor their invitation. And one such time they just tell us, doctor, what are you doing? You are just working day in and day out. You don't sleep in the night, you work in the night. Look at us, what we are. We can always, if not you, we can go to any other doctor. Doctor is always available to us. Like you have no, you are all the time working. When will you live a life? This is one such situation which was told to be by one of my industrialist friend. It really hit me back hard. But then when I came back and I sat quiet for a while, I understand the purpose of life for both of us is different. That person who gave me this gyan, his purpose is different. The purpose of my being is different. The way the society sees me is different. The way the society sees him is different. What is gratifying for him is different. What is gratifying for me is different. That is how it is. I have chosen this profession. I have chosen my life to be a life savior. I have chosen a life to be a messenger of God. I have learned the skills which are a journey to this, a part of this, and I do good to the society. I bring up smiles to the people. I alleviate people's suffering. Which other profession can this have?
No one else can do
And medicine is a profession where there is no recession.
that.
You saw it in COVID.
That's a good.
When the whole world was sleeping, we were still working and we were living. Whether he is a president of America or he is not a very well-to-do person or a daily wage worker, everybody's head bowed down to a doctor after God. This is this profession. As I say, a human being bows his head only to two people. One is God, one is a doctor. Nobody else.
What advice would you give to a young person in their teens who want to enter the field of healthcare but they feel very overwhelmed?
I said just in a few words, medicine is a profession where there is no recession. It's always a winning profession. It's always a gratifying profession. But patience is the only mantra here. The journey is long. The path is difficult. But the destination is beautiful. The destination is gratifying. The smile you earn is just unbelievable. You bring smile to people. You turn misery into pleasure. You turn suffering into smiles. No other profession can have it.
So, what does a day in your life look like?
The day in a life, yes, get up, work, do what you have trained for. Yes, having reached at this point of my time, I somewhere feel that I have probably missed out on my family and my well-wishers, my friends. It's a long journey, I said, to establish to a name where the society treats you with dignity at this point, and to do good to what you have learned, to be true to your profession. God has been kind to me, the society has been kind to me, the city has been kind to me. I practiced for many years in Mumbai too. I had all A-list people. I tell people that if I wouldn't be in Belgaum, I would have been continued to be in Mumbai. I would be a part of VIP marriage in Lake Como. Yes, destiny got me to Belgaum. I do miss that sometimes, that glamour. But yes, this city has given me enough and more. The satisfaction is unparalleled. Here, my grandfather always told me, don't chase money, money will follow you. And this is what it is. I mean, it is not money. You are never hungry in this profession. You never sleep hungry in this profession. It gives you enough. You only have to be patient and you have to be true to your profession. True to the ethics what you have learned for. Apply the knowledge in the right way and not the wrong way. And always be kind, God fearing. This is what I would say. And yes, now as I said, how is a day like? What I missed in my younger days, of my long studying days and long years making my career and the profession to and the position where I am today. Now, I just try to spend time with my family and my well-wishers and my friends. Make sure I call them once in a while, just to find out how they are. Being a part of my children's journey, like how you guys are, just inquire with my children how they are doing. They too, looking at my profession, they too are following that journey, the same path as them. So they are also doing well. Just to get smile on patients' face, on people's face, and elevating misery.
If you were not a doctor today, what do you think? What other profession would you?
The journey of being a doctor is pretty difficult. As I said, I had a dream. I had a fantasy seeing a doctor, a well-behaved, well-built doctor, and I wanted to be like him. If I hadn't been, I would be. My entire family is into business. We are into textiles. Lots of shops in Belgaum, in and around Belgaum. My father never took me to our shop, saying that if you would see the money flowing in their hand, you would never study. So he wanted us to study. And incidentally, I topped and I got a very good seat, a very good rank. I got a merit seat. These days, being into medicine is very expensive. Those days, during say 30 years before, when I went into medicine, that was 1990. Those days, the merit list used to come in newspaper, and our ranks used to come in newspaper. It was a big sheet. So when I got a good rank, 250th in the state, my grandfathers who have never studied more than BCom, they were all, the entire clan was so happy that I had achieved something unbelievable. And that is the time I was into medicine. If I hadn't been into medicine, probably I would be selling textiles as the rest of my parents did in the family tradition.
So you came from a privileged background.
Yes, that was my privilege.
So, what would your younger self not believe that you have achieved today?
During our days, our richest was going to Ajanta, having a puri bhaji, having a nice shirt, or nice shoes, a nice watch, and walking around. That was our going for a movie, going out with friends. At that age, that is what we think. But getting to a status where people look upon you as a role model, as an inspiration, as a second to God, is something unbelievable. That feeling no other profession gives, as I said again. And being one of that is something very gratifying.
So your younger self would have been so proud of.
Yes. That I want to become like him. It involves lots of hard work, yes, but I did achieve that. I'm happy with what God has given me. I have no other qualms in life. God is kind, and I'm thankful to Him for what He has given us today.
So do you remember the feeling when you got your first paycheck as a doctor?
Yes. So it's pretty sentimental. When I first get a first paycheck as a doctor at the end of the month, It was very painful. I went down after coming to Belgaum. First thing in Mumbai, when I got a paycheck, I got an ECG machine for myself, which was only 15,000 rupees. That was way back, long back. Then, after coming to Belgaum, the first paycheck, I got my father, in spite of all that, he still comes on a two-wheeler. I got him a new two-wheeler, a new Activa. Those days, Activa was just introduced, and that was pretty. Being a part, not that he couldn't afford, but I being a party to make his journey a little more comfortable than what he had that point of time, was pretty nice.
So now it's time for a rapid fire round brought to you by Kisna Gold and Diamond Jewelry. Just like Kisna's jewelry, sparkling and everlasting, these questions are going to be short, sharp, and sparkling. So let's start.
Yes.
Okay. One word to describe feeling of saving life.
Ecstatic. And yeah.
A book everyone should read.
Ikigai. Ikigai is the essence of life.
One word that describes how you approach life.
Patience.
If you weren't a cardiologist, which other specialty would you choose?
Maybe a retailer, a shopkeeper, or maybe a chef.
Okay. But in medical field, which other specialty would you choose?
Cardiology or nothing else.
What's harder, neat or treating a patient in real life? Stethoscope or scalpel? What feels more like a superpower?
Brain. Because it thinks. Eyes only see what mind knows.
If you could invent one medical tool that doesn't exist yet, what would it be?
To have a stress-free life.
Do you believe the teachings of Ikigai? Because I had read it once, like it was about the life of Japanese people.
No, it is just not Japanese people. Of course, it was after staying in Japan for many years, this person understood the essence. But here it teaches you what you want in life. And once you know what is your goal, you make a path for yourself to reach that destination, the journey to reach that destination. And why you want to live, how to live, and for what to live. And once you know what you are doing, you achieve excellence, and every time you want to do that. Isn't it? Once you know, yes, this is what I want to do, you try to do best every time to do the same thing again and again.
Just finding the purpose of life and moving towards.
Moving towards it, that's important. And staying happy with it. It's not the purpose is to what makes you happiness, what makes you smile. At the end of the day, you have to sit quiet and smile. Yes, I did what I wanted to, and that is what is Ikigai.
So now we'll talk about health. So what are the early symptoms of a heart attack that people often miss?
Yes, the earliest symptom of a heart attack, the body tells you that yes, what you could do easily. I could walk 2 kilometers easily every day. Today I am not able to walk 2 kilometers. Less than at 1 kilometer I get tired. The distance keep on shortening every time. That is one symptom. No chest pain should be ignored, irrespective of the age. Earlier, chest pain, say you are a 20-year-old guy, nothing is wrong, it just must be acidity, which is often ignored. Yesterday I had a patient who was 21 years old who had a heart attack. I opened his artery. I mean, it is unbelievable. We are seeing a lot more younger people than what we used to see a decade ago.
So, do you think heart attacks are hereditary or it depends on the lifestyle of a person?
A mixture of both. Genes, of course, it predisposes you to have a heart attack. But with these genes, when interacted with an unhealthy lifestyle, which may be diet or exercise or a sedentary lifestyle or your habits, whatever kind of a situation. So genes, when combined with this so-called lifestyle issues, magnify the incidence of getting an early heart attack.
So irrespective of the age, anyone can get a heart attack.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What's the youngest patient that you've had that was having a heart disease?
16 years. A heart attack. Heart disease can be there in children newborn as well. I'm talking about a heart attack, 16 years.
So what was wrong with him?
His genes, maybe.
That wasn't his lifestyle.
He at that stage, he is just a schoolboy. So he was a 10th standard boy, had a chest pain. We had to do him, and it was unbelievable.
We've been hearing a lot about people collapsing in gyms because of cardiac arrest. Why do you think that happens?
Gym deaths are because of many issues. There could be a rhythm problem, wherein suddenly your heartbeat could, when you start exercising, unaccustomed especially, your heartbeat suddenly would go to 200 plus, or maybe more, what we call as ventricular fibrillation, which happens in a predisposed heart. This guy has never been screened before going to a gym, like an echocardiogram and an ECG or a treadmill test before he goes to the gym and he indulges into a very, very strenuous activity all of a sudden. So that is, it could be a rhythm issue, it could be a structure of the heart, it could be a muscle disease. The heart is a muscle, so that the substrate could be wrong. A little moving further, it could be a heart attack. There might be a cholesterol block earlier. During certain exertions, maybe physical stress, emotional stress, that breaks away from there and goes down and blocks and causes a heart attack. So it could be a rhythm problem, it could be a muscle problem, or could be a proper block-induced heart attack. So it is a various things. For all those gym goers people, I would rather suggest them to, before they start into their gym journey, get a simple ECG and echocardiogram, which is the imaging of the heart to see the structure, and a treadmill test to see how your heart responds to this so-called stress. It is called a stress test. So you give stress to your heart and you see how your heart responds to that stress. So always exercise into the moderate range exercise schedules. I mean, you have stages of your heart zones, exercise zones. This is a little scientific.
Yeah, it's on the cardio machine as well.
Yes. So you should always stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, and rather than going in suddenly into the last stage of a heart attack. Always try to maintain or less than 85% of the maximal heart rate during your exercise. This is how a few tips for the gym goers, but always get yourself evaluated before you begin your gym journey. Yes, it is alarming because of unprecedented abuse by the so-called exercise trainers. People who are qualified will always evaluate you before you begin your gym journey. It's always a graded aspect and not a sudden one.
So what is...
I'll ask a follow-up question.
Okay.
So do you think powerlifting and heavy lifting also causes
Yes.
heart attack?
See, what is power lifting and heavy weight lifting? Here, the tone of the muscle increases. It's not the length. It is called as the isometric exercises, wherein your length of the muscle is not increased. Like you walk, you exercise. Here, they are called as your tone is normal, but it's a isometric exercises. What is isometric exercises? It is weight lifting, power lifting, and it causes a sudden jerk on your heart. You would see sudden pressure on your heart, and these are the situations, if not trained properly and accustomed, if you lift suddenly, there is suddenly a rupture of a block or a cholesterol block which is there in your heart. Say 70% block is there, it's sitting quietly, suddenly you lift this heavy weight or a jerk and unaccustomed, and that 70% breaks away from that part and goes further down and blocks 100, makes it 100%, because there is clot formation on that block, and that causes a heart attack. You see suddenly the person, they go down. This is how it is. They suddenly collapse. This is how it is.
So what's one daily habit that could drastically reduce the risks of a heart attack?
A healthy lifestyle, exercise regularly, eat when you are hungry, not when you have to, eat in Everything in moderation is correct. Stay away from voices. Stay away from, what is bad for me may not be bad for everybody. So-called recreational activities has to be in moderation and not binging. Eat right, exercise right, think right, and stay calm. Meditate, stay calm. The purpose of Ikigai, stay happy. That's how it is.
Even they have mentioned like they have reduced the size of their plates so that they take food in lesser portion.
Exactly, that's how it is.
To a person in their 60s or 70s, do they follow the same tips, or do they have to do something different?
Know your body at any age is an important message. For a 20-year-old, your body is different. For a 60-year-old, it is. But at each step, you have to know your body. Stop when you have discomfort. For a 60-year-old person or a 20-year-old person, do not overdo things. Get yourself regularly checked. As I would say, heart, of course, it is a myth that heart disease cannot be prevented. It's wrong. It's destiny. Don't leave everything on destiny. Have regular checks, because God helps who helps himself. Get yourself checked regularly. That's how it is.
Okay, so as doctors say, is stress actually that harmful to the heart?
Yes, it is. Stress in any form. It's physical, mental, anything. Flight, fright, and fight. All are harmful to the heart, because all suddenly have an insult on your heart, suddenly put pressure on your heart. So it is. So you have to have an ability to manage the stress, and that is why you should listen to our elders and try to be calm, be contented. Today's generation is not contented. They are not satisfied, want more and want too quick. They try to find shortcuts. Then life punishes you. You get it, but get it the right way. Don't try to bypass something. Get somebody else's share of pound of flesh as well. Wait for the right moment. Have patience. God will gift you. You will get. Everything has a time.
How else can you manage stress?
Learn the purpose why you are. As I said again, be calm, be happy, and be contented. And work towards the journey what you have set. Work towards the goal what you have set in the right way. Don't try to find shortcuts. Be contented with what you have. Be happy is what is the final word. You have to be happy with whatever it is. Learn to have a smile. Learn to smile, even if you have to do it. If you have to feign a smile, that's still okay, but learn to smile. Try to smile. At least show a smile. After 10 duplicate smiles, you might have 2 original smiles, and that itself is a victory for yourself.
So what's that one myth about heart health that you want to bust?
It is preventable if detected early.
Beside being a cardiologist, what are your hobbies and passions?
I de-stress myself going for a walk anywhere. One such situation was, just de-stress yourself, listen to a nice music, close your eyes and say whatever mantra you want, or just listen to a song which what you would enjoy and start humming with it. You would find peace.
What's one thing about you which would be, if people would know, they would be surprised?
I'm a human being too. That's how it is. I'm very fortunate. I mean, once I had gone for a walk in racecourse. One of my patients met me. Doctor, even you? He asked me. I mean, means what? I said, means what? I changed my.
Especially me.
Yeah, even you. Means, even you have a problem with this. Means what? I'm a human being too.
Have you ever treated someone close to you or a family member?
I treated my father.
How was the?
I treated my father. I was scared as well. I'm treating my father. I'm doing this. I'm scared too. So I'm a human being too. Yes, it is scary. Each person teaches you different. But the privilege of treating your own father is unparalleled. And he got a heart attack. I was there.
So, what's one advice you would give to the younger generation that they can use in their life?
Stay happy. Eat right. Walk right. Find peace with yourself. Be contented. Go for regular checkups. And do not try to steal other person's pound of flesh. Be contented with what you have. Your rightfully earned penny is yours, and you work towards that more.
So,
If you could, do you want to ask something?
you go ahead. I'll ask.
If you could relive one memory in your medical journey, then what would it be?
When I finished my first MBBS, there are phases of MBBS. When I got a distinction, we danced in a gutter with all my friends. It was unbelievable because we really worked hard into a medicine coming from non-convent schools. And yes, we had small pleasures in life. One class was not there, cancelled. We used to go to Tillari for a picnic. One class was not there. We used to go to Amboli. One class we used to. I mean, those small pleasures of life which I miss now. Those are the pleasures which are unparalleled. This is I tell my children also and the younger generation: live your life. Live for today. Live your life the right way.
So, before we end the episode, what's one thing you want to share or give an advice to the people who are appearing for NEET exams and want to become a doctor?
The journey is long, the destination is beautiful. You're on the right track. Believe in yourself. You will be second to God and you will be a life savior. This thought will take you through your mission and achieve your objective. Thank you guys, you are lovely. You asked me questions which I took me to my younger days of formative years of medicine. Thank you very much, and you do good to society too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
sir.
To the people who are watching the podcast, keep learning, keep making, and keep building.
And keep smiling as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job.